Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming on the line today. My name is John Ross Hopkin. I go by JR. And today it's going to be a fairly short webinar. I just wanted to go over why adding final expense to your portfolio makes sense for a Medicare agent. First of all, I like to show you the income projections based on the national average on a simplified issued policy for final expense. They paid out last year. It was in the neighborhood between $705 and $805. This first column, if you wrote 10 applications a month, and we're going to use national averages here. You could increase your street income by $120,000. If you wrote 16 applications a month, you could increase your income by over $200,000. And if you wrote 24 applications, final expense applications per month, you could earn just south of $330,000. Again, these are based on national averages. Yeah, if you get a contract with the brokerage. For a street level agent, you would be earning 115% for simplified issue, and you would be earning 60% for guaranteed issue. Those really are the two types of policies that you would be selling, and the $700 to $800 average commission that was for a simplified issue policy. So there's a lot of opportunity in these policies. You do earn some residual income. Years 2 through 5, it's normally around 6.5%, and then years 6 through 10, it drops down to, I believe, 4.5%, and then years 11 after drops down to 1.5 to 2.5%. So really, what you're doing is you're earning most of your income based off the first year of commissions being paid out. Why I think this final expense is it's really designed for the lower to middle income market. You're already, if you sell Medicare, you're already dealing with a dual type market. So naturally, final expense is just a great conversation to at least bring up. There's a huge potential in this market. The final expense market is not saturated. 30% of U.S. households, roughly 37.5 million, have no life insurance protection at all. These numbers are courtesy of LIMRA, which is one of the most credible actuarial study firms in all of insurance. 40% of U.S. households, roughly 50 million, say they need more life insurance, which is the highest level ever. There are actually fewer life insurance policies in force today than there were in 1960, and our population has tripled. So there's a huge need out there. 8 out of 10 U.S. households need basic life insurance but do not have an agent. They could not name their agent when they were polled. And a primary reason why Americans purchase life insurance is to cover burial and final expenses. And as we know, seniors are America's fastest growing market, and they need your help. This statistic really just jumps out at me, and I'm going to put this in perspective here. So 78% of shoppers with a previous relationship with their agent bought life insurance when their agent presented it to them. So if you have a book of, let's say, 100 Medicare Advantage clients that you've enrolled in previous AEPs, and you approach all 100 of them with a final expense product, according to this national average, 78% of those people would buy from you, given the fact that you've already established a relationship, and now all you're doing is making it known that you offer final expense products too. It's a great cross-sell technique, and you know, actually the property and casualty people are the ones who figured it out first. You know, if you put your homeowners, your life insurance, and your automobile insurance with us, we'll give you a 25% discount on your premiums. Now, does that mean I'm going to be a 25% better driver? No, it just means I'm never going to leave them. So it's kind of that same philosophy is what we're trying to do here. Especially, like I said, it's perfect for a Medicare agent. Medicare Advantage agent, particularly who you're already dealing with a limited budget household for the most part. So um, our average, I think we ran the numbers. We run about 83% based on the agents that we've tracked and who have never sold final expense, but decided to start asking the questions, and it's worked out just greatly for them. So, and these next two slides, this is very indicative, I believe, of why there are so few life insurance policies in force today, and why the number of Americans who do have life insurance actually do not have enough. Um, when polled, 86% of people who decided not to buy in life insurance, they decided not to because they felt like they could not afford it, yet they overestimate the true cost of it by nearly 2.5 to 3 times, according to lifehappens.org. So that's just, a lot of that gets back to these career captive agents who you come up, you get licensed, you go to captive environment with New York Life or MetLife, Lincoln Financials of the world. You would have to go through a quarterly training before they would let you go and sell independently. And so what we have done over the years is we've cut out those training programs. So very few agents actually take the time to find out what it is your client needs. How much coverage do they need? How much can they afford? A majority of term insurance people buy because they're wanting to protect their mortgage or their homes. And then there's various other case samples that you have to plant the seed. You have to find out what it is they're needing and how much it's going to cost them. So we have two pieces here that we've simplified down. We've used other versions, and I feel like these two, the fact finder, the needs analysis, if you go to our website under tools, you can download these forms. Very, very, very valuable. I mean, I can't stress that enough. Not only in gathering the basics, but also it kind of leads into the sale itself. And these are things you're gonna have to get anyway. So very important to use these tools. They're there for you. And if you need help with, if you never used the needs analysis or a fact finder before, I'd be more than happy to sit down with you and go through them and how to gather that information. So very important. We do have quote engines. We have a lot of quote engines. If you look on the right-hand column there, our life and final expense quote engines. We have several. One of them is through a third party called FEX. Those rates are updated daily. And then we also have partnered with Legacy Safeguard, which is a program that you can offer to your clients at no cost. Legacy Safeguard, I'm not going to get too much into it, but it'll basically guide your clients through the ins and outs of having to plan for their funeral and their services. A lot of people don't realize that when a loved one passes away and there's no pre-needs plan or there's no final expense policy in force, there's over 150 decisions that have to be made in the first 48 to 72 hours immediately after they pass away. And so at a time of grieving and obviously a lot of emotions there, you're vulnerable to the funeral home and the places you go to seek out to pay for these services and everything that's going to be required. So Legacy Safeguard is put together to basically help your clients go through the planning stages. They actually have people standing by that will guide them through the entire process of planning for a funeral, and then it's a natural segue into the final expense sale. Now that we have your services all done, how do you intend to pay for it? So please inquire about Legacy Safeguard. Like I said, it's free. It's a free program. You can offer it to your clients at no cost, and it's just a matter of getting appointed with the carriers that they have worked out a contract with. And that's kind of that's our main final expense quote engine right there. Not a whole lot. This is very simplified underwriting. There's not going to be, with simplified issue, policies, you're going to have on average 10 to 12 medical questions. Most of them are going to be knockout. No paramed, no lab requirements, blood being drawn, none of that. Just 10 to 12 medical questions asked. On guaranteed issue products, usually there's about 3 or 5 health questions. If you have a client who has to go guaranteed issue because they're in less than greater health, the deal with the guaranteed issue is if they pass away in the first 2 years of the policy being in force, the carrier is gonna return the premiums that have been paid out plus 10%. But if they make it to day 1 of year 3, they're gonna pay out the full death benefit of the policy. So just keep that in mind. There's some of our carriers right there. Without a doubt, Mutual of Omaha, the Living Promise is a very, very popular product. I go back to something I learned when I first got into the business. This business is name brand recognition goes a long way with seniors. I'd say that probably accounts for 40 to 50% of the sale. Mutual of Omaha, they can remember the days of Marlin Perkins and the Wild Kingdom, on Sundays, and that goes, and it's been around a long time, and it's a great company, A+ rated on the AM Best rating, and that Living Promise, that's a very, very popular product. Transamerica is another company that we have their full portfolio of products with. They're very competitive. I would put, if you're writing a simplified issue final expense policy, most of the time it's going to go 1A and 1B right there with Mutual and Trans. And then Forrester is a very interesting company. The reason we picked up their contract was they take on cases with diabetes, where most carriers, if you're getting final expense through, you would have to go guaranteed issue to get the coverage. With 26.1 or 29.1 million Americans diagnosed with diabetes, they anticipate by 2050 it's going to be 1 in 3. 86 million Americans are pre-diabetic or have not been diagnosed as being diabetic. Forrester's is one of those niche carriers that I would recommend taking on because of that. You will be able to get a level death benefit, simplified issue, given the A1C readings and the diabetes are controlled, is on par. They will issue that with the level death benefit, so very, very attractive for any niche markets you have. So that's kind of the first half of the presentation. The second half is I just wanted to go through our call center and what it's designed for. Last March 1st of 2016, we created a call center internally through the brokerage. It's our employees who are running it, and we did this to basically it was for our Medicare agents, because if you've been partners with the brokerage for several years, you're probably been to a couple of our events, maybe even some of the carrier rollouts where we've been in attendance. So Medicare is a big block of our business, and so that's why we really wanted to we wanted to create something for you guys that we could help increase your sales and also grow your persistency and retention with your existing book of business. So as you know, most agents do not enjoy calling hundreds of clients. Even if you enjoy it, there aren't enough hours in the day. And we know once we get into October 15th through December 7th, following up with your current book and then trying to continue to grow with new clients, it's very, very difficult to make all those calls. And so that's what our telemarketers would do for you. Tens of thousands of calls tell us only approximately 10% of the people will answer the phone during a call session. And what we're doing is we're tapping into available gaps in coverage through additional policies, getting back to that PNC philosophy of you put your Medicare Advantage. If you have okay, I'm going to put this out there. If you have a Medicare Advantage policy, if you have a Medicare Advantage plan on a client, there's a 33% chance that that client will leave you within the duration of their life. If you have a Medicare Advantage plan and a final expense policy, that number goes up to 70%. 70% chance that they will not terminate throughout the duration of their life. If you have a Medicare Advantage plan, a final expense policy, and I don't know, a standalone dental plan, for example, there's a 100% chance that client is never going to leave you, and that's really what we're trying to do. Is we're trying to grow the persistency and retention rate through cross-selling techniques. So, and that's, I get a lot of questions about, you don't have to master these products. Even your Medicare plans you sell, you probably don't know. You know most of the benefits and what the plans entail, but it's a conversation that leads into the sale itself. So getting it out on the table is probably one of the hardest things to first try and do. This is going to be free to agents who are contracted with TBI. What our telemarketers are doing are making hundreds of calls on your behalf, and it provides the opportunity to increase your income and solidify your book of business. Every telemarketer, all of our telemarketers are certified, professionally trained. All they're doing is simply calling through your book of business, identifying as your appointment scheduler. So the conversation may go, good afternoon, my name is Mike Smith. I'm calling on behalf of your Medicare agent, John Ross Hopkin. He would like to come talk to you about these new dental benefits that he's talking with all his other clients about. If you'd have time, we have numerous telescripts that we would go through before we even started that process with you, because obviously we don't want to interfere with your unique selling style. We want to keep that conversation. We want to keep those relationships intact. So that's solely what we're doing, is identifying as your appointment scheduler. Upon the first appointment being set, you will receive an email with the recorded conversation between your client and the telemarketers. All calls are recorded. So again, we're not stealing your clients. We would not be in the business for 41 years if we took one client from one of our agents. All we're trying to do is to get you back into the house and talk about other types of insurance coverages. So all calls are recorded, and if upon your request, we will send you those recordings if you want additionally past the first appointment being set. Of the contacts we make with your clients, your book of business, we usually set an appointment between 40 and 90% of the time. Now you might think that's a very why is it so wide with that number, that percentage? You got really two types of insurance agents. You're going to have your 90% of appointments being set for the ones who take their time to do the due diligence, to take care of their clients, to follow up if they needed plan changes, plan switches. If you're not talking with your clients every 6 months, there's a good chance another agent, another agency, or a carrier is directly. So we've all heard that over the years, and it happens to be true. And then the 40% are for the ones who look at AEP as just go through as many as I can, get as many new clients as I can. When we call their book of business, the clients are having trouble recalling when we name drop who the agent of record is. So keep that in mind. And this has been a very successful rollout, I guess, if you will. I'll give you the first lady we did, she was a Houston agent down in Houston, and she had never sold final expense. She's been selling Medicare since 2009, and that's really the only type of insurance she sold. But we told her about this program. On the first 25 calls, and she was a very hands-on agent. The first 25 calls we made to her book of business, we set 22 appointments. And out of those 22 appointments, she wrote, it was either 7 or 8 simplified issue final expense policies. I think most of them were $10,000 face amounts. But she earned nearly $6,000 in additional income without adding one client to her block of business. So that is really the whole purpose of using the call center and what we're prepared to do for you. Again, before we even go down, before we even got you loaded up through the call center, I would have to have you talk to Mike Keating, who's running our call center. Um, because we want to make sure that we get everything accurate, and also then from a geographical standpoint, once we start setting appointments, if you have clients in Terrell, and then so we set an appointment in Terrell, and then you have a client in Fort Worth, we don't want to set an appointment at 11 a.m. and then one at 1 p.m. We want to give you ample time to be able to commute safely back and forth to your appointments. One of the requirements is you're going to need to have at least 50 clients to start, and also set aside 3 to 4 weeks and 2 days a week to run appointments, because once our telemarketers start the process of setting your appointments, we just want to as consistent as possible. So there you have it. Again, please give us a call. The final expense, I just think it's such a natural fit for especially if you're selling Medicare Advantage. It is the perfect offset, and only positive things can come. The worst thing that they can happen is to say, I'm not interested, or I have my life. And if they say I have my life insurance, I was just going to have my beneficiaries use that to bury me. I would throw a rhetorical question out back at them. Basically. I have a $100,000 whole life policy, and I'm going to have my beneficiaries cut out $10,000 or however much it costs to bury me, and they're going to. So the insurance carrier, upon receiving the death certificate, is going to sign a $100,000 check over to the funeral home that you've elected. They're going to scratch out $10,000 and then send $90,000 back to your beneficiaries. I mean, that's one of the theoretical processes of how it does go down. But from a timing standpoint, don't be surprised if that takes a little longer than you think before your beneficiaries get that $90,000. So that's really one of the designs for final expense, was just to fill that void so you don't have to go through that. I can say 54%, almost 55% of Americans are now choosing cremation over traditional burial, and the biggest reason for that is cost. Much cheaper. The average traditional funeral today runs $12,200. The average cremation it costs to get cremated is roughly between $2,500 and $4,500. So keep that in mind. And hey, I really appreciate you guys coming on the line. Feel free to give us a call. That's Rod on the left. He runs our life department. That's me in the middle, and then Joel Flores, who is also in the life and final expense. We've got great products, great carriers. If you need help getting appointed with some of our carriers, I threw out a couple. Mutual and Trans are really good, and then Foresters if you have clients with diabetes. Gerber Life is probably our most competitive guaranteed issue carrier. Again, name brand recognition goes a long way with seniors. They know that baby. They've seen the face, and it's very competitive. And then actually AIG came out with a guaranteed issue product that is pretty competitive as well. So please give us a call, especially if you're wanting to utilize the call center. I'll throw out another hypothetical. You go on your appointments, this AEP selling Medicare, and you call your client a week after you enroll them, or however long the process is when they receive their member benefit card, and that's when you can plant the seed. By the way, maybe sometime in the spring 2018, I would love to be able to come talk to you and look over your life insurance or your final expense coverages. I'm also licensed in that field. That's one way to plan it. There's many ways to grassroots market amongst your existing book. We'll do the call-in for you. We'll set the appointments for you. All you need to do is learn, 1 or 2 products and get comfortable using a very simple, easy-to-use quote engine. That's literally how easy it is. I thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, that's my direct line in the middle there. So please feel free to give me a call, or you can email me. And I appreciate it. God bless. Thank you so much for coming.